Do we have any requests for an agenda change? Anyone? Then we should move on to the presentation, which is the budget presentation.
We actually don't have a budget presentation. It's just a carryover from what was presented. Last week I was on vacation, so it's a carryover from what was presented to the staff and to the community. So being gone last week, I have not worked on the numbers at all. And at the last presentation that was done publicly, we did identify that our increase in expenditures is just under 800,000. The administrative team has worked collectively, and we have identified first round in reductions, and we can plan to continue that work tomorrow and to look at further efficiencies that the district can enact upon, and we will come back to the board on March 10th with our recommendations. At this point, Frank Rossi is not here this evening, but he has requested that the administrative team present two possible recommendations for the budget proposal for this spring. So that's part of the work that we will be doing tomorrow, and we'll be back on the 10th with very exact information.
Very good. Any questions?
I have one, please. I understood the governor came out with an amended budget a week or so ago. Anything on that?
I looked after I received your email. I could not find a thing that said anything about a change in school funding. I Googled everything I could think of, so.
I've not seen anything.
And I figured for sure NISBA would come out with some kind of response if
Right.
it changed anything, so I just didn't find anything.
Thank you.
Okay, then we can move on to committee reports, and first on the list is policy committee. Doug, do you want to take that? Or I'll be happy to.
Why don't you go ahead and do it?
Okay. We have recommended that we adopt this evening the policy number 1332, and that is duties of the school district treasurer. And the reason why we're recommending this at this point in time rather quickly is because the changes that you can see in your packet were fairly simple. It was more sort of housekeeping than it was anything else. Pretty much the same way for policy number 5110, budget planning and development. So if that's okay with the rest of you, I would entertain a motion to accept those two policies.
I have a question, if I may.
Good.
Just some key things. Adults should pay for their meals at time of service. That's on page 17.
That's
That's the next one. I'm just dealing
Oh, I'm sorry.
with the
They
duties
cut
of
it
the
wrong
school
here.
district
These are the ones
treasurer.
we're adopting tonight.
Okay.
Right, and budget planning and development. So, they said most of the changes in this were very simple and predominantly administrative housekeeping. So I'd be happy to entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Okay, now moving on to the second one. This is the first reading for policy number 5660, school food service program, lunch and breakfast. And I think, John, that's where you really had a question?
Well, I actually have two on this policy on the page 15 of 36. Do we actually have a superintendent develop a program as to what can be charged? Am I asking this because it seems to be in the headlines all over anymore?
Yeah.
What
Well,
and how much and what are the,
I have not found any formal document that says the superintendent has set this forth, although I asked John King, I said, so where does this exist? How do students know? And it's in the student handbooks. So that's to implement this policy after it's adopted. They probably need to put something in writing that there was some direction to summarize it, but right now I think it just lives in the student handbooks.
okay. And then going on to page 17 for prohibition against adults charging meals. Prohibition pretty much says a word that's not allowed, and then the next sentence under that says adults should. I would expect that we're trying to teach our children here how to be responsible and in every way that it should be just plain flat out prohibited. Borrow money from your coworker or your
Switch.
wife.
Should to will?
Well, it says almost 70 paid, do people have prepaid accounts?
They can do a prepaid account. I
So-
agree with that.
So rather than should, just said will. Would that be a suggestion?
That'd be my preference. And that's all I had on that one.
Anyone else have any questions on that? It was the school food service program, right, John? Okay. The second policy we're recommending for first reading is policy number 5570. It's the financial accountability.
So my question is, everything that's in yellow, is that what was recommended, or is that what we're actually changing? How?
My understanding is that's new.
That's, yeah.
It's new in terms of what's written in the policy, it's not new in terms of what the district does.
It's kind of bringing the law into the policy.
Right, now correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that if it's in the light blue, then that's sort of a slight change according to the
That's,
original policy.
yes.
If it's
Those are the
coded in yellow,
alterations.
this is something that is in addition to what was the policy had before.
Correct.
But as
And
Kimberly
red is
points out,
correct.
it may not be necessarily new to us in terms of
Correct.
practice, it's new in terms of the policy that we're looking at.
Correct.
Any other questions?
Good with it.
Okay, and those are the only two that we're recommending at this point for our first reading. May I entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Are any opposed? Any abstention? Motion is carried. Thank you. Next committee meeting, or committee report would be the facilities committee.
Well, it's been, just as I sat down tonight, I got more information, more positive information. But basically, our bids came in, many of them as expected or below, which is great. So we're awarding all our general construction work was quite straightforward and below what we had estimated it would be, so we're awarding all that. We've had a fair amount of discussion back and forth about the playfield and site work and involving state rules, burning down Jim's office and our bids and our alternates. And I think that we, our committee, Gary and I and Michael and Mike and Steve and Beardsley went through alternates that we thought were most important. And I believe we've been able to put all those in our contract. There was maybe one that I would, the deep ducts that I didn't know about, the resolution on the several deducts.
We took one deduct, Peter,
Which
which
one?
was rather than pave the access road
Okay,
adjacent to the track and field would be gravel
yeah,
access road.
right. About the deduct, of the track surface.
There was no deducting, we kept the high quality surface.
Okay. So the bottom line is that we're getting everything that is in our project with many alternatives, not all of them. So it's been really good, really positive. So we're ready to move ahead and award contracts. We had about 39 bidders.
39 bidders.
And all-
Originally 61 plan holders, but only 39 turned in bids, so it was
39 bidders.
good movement.
Wonderful.
And I think our timing was excellent, getting this
Yes.
bid out in February, when companies are looking for summer work, excellent. And I compliment Beardsley and CNF for doing, and Mike DePerno for really pushing this through it in a very, very carefully timed fashion. So I think it's all looks good.
So
Looks great.
it's what you promised the voters, and that's really
Yeah.
what it's on.
So we're gonna go ahead and award contracts tonight, is that correct?
Yeah, I'd just like to know what Steve and.
Yeah, can we do this now?
Please do,
Okay.
yeah.
Kind of maybe walk you through it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, after the bid opening, we received bids on the 18th. We came down here, did some preliminary calculations, got back together in here on the 20th with Peter and Gary and the people we mentioned before, Mike Babcock and all the mics we had.
Mike's here.
Even
Even Mike in,
Mike in Arizona, Mike
Yeah.
Herzog.
So
So,
it came out of the pool.
yeah, so we really, and what you see in front of you, the spreadsheet that you see in front of you, is the awards we're recommending tonight. And can I at least get one of these?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Sort of.
Do we see
Do
that?
the other. Somebody switch it
Ah,
Okay. How's that?
much better.
Beautiful.
So, what we're talking about tonight is awarding to these contractors those base bid numbers plus those accepted alternates, and I'll run through the accepted alternates for you. And the total contract value is $5,226,243, which is inside of your referendum amount and is aidable. That's really, which means that it's not a tax burden. And that's what we also promised the voters back in December of 12. So, general contractor, Streeter Construction out of Elmira. Those two alternates were the only alternates that they had. And alternate A2 and H2 and E3 are all, so A2, H2, E3. So remember how this works, is the responsible low is the base bid plus the accepted alternate, which means that we don't pick and choose which alternate to take with one contractor, and you apply it to everybody. You look and see who's low, and then you go from there. So the A2, H2, and E3 are all associated with room 149, which is a computer room over adjacent to the shop here in the high school. So we're able to get that. And the bulk of that work you'll see is heating and ventilating from HMI, who we've had here on campus before. We know them well. The other alternate, which is A3 at the elementary school, which is insulating that basement in the elementary school, the lower level. So third time's a charm.
yeah, that alternate's been on the board for 6 years, 7
For 5 years.
5 years, okay.
Yeah.
Who's the cook in the painting department?
Cook?
That'd be
Cook
my
is,
uncle.
you can see there's no E on this cook.
Oh, right, you spelled it wrong.
Actually, the cook is a painter we've had here on campus before. We're very familiar with their work. And Cook and Streeter will be very closely allied in the renovations over at the middle school associated with the art technology wing and getting that handicap accessibility there. And the stairwells too. And actually,
So they're painting the stairwells for $34,000 and other stuff?
yeah,
And that's the same one that started out, as I believe, at $28,000?
we found a better way.
And went up because of asbestos?
Yep, we found a better way to do it. And we actually consulted with them too.
There
And
is,
several manufacturers.
John, there is an asbestos element to that. That's-
Right.
And we also have an asbestos abatement contractor, you're right.
Oh, yes.
Window specialists. Window specialists, just like the name suggests, the window work, and they are at the middle school, replacing all the windows at the middle school. Kimball Plumbing, they have